with those two differences in the pregnancies, like 22-hour labor is still nothing to, it's not like easy by any means. 6 hours of transition, not easy by any means. But what was, in that birth to postpartum, you said she's born, you've got this like 4 pushes and she's out once you've got that alignment. I'm curious first before we go into like the postpartum, like, in the first pregnancy, you mentioned sort of like using the Qigong to like ground the energy around your cervix. What's your perception of the energy flow in your second labor, like aligning it with your cervix and aligning your energies? I'm just fascinated. I'm so curious.
Yeah, I was so present in my pelvic floor and in my cervix, and I could tell that she wasn't quite aligned, that internal listening. And so, in the intervening years, I was doing all these jade egg practices. I was teaching them and tuning into my body in that area all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just really helpful to have that background, to have those skills, to be present, and to not be afraid of being present with my pelvic floor, and to feel like there was this urge to push, but it wasn't quite aligned, and so I could relax it. So there's the jade egg practices that are strengthening all of those muscles, but then there's also the relaxation, and so really tuning into what that felt like in my body, to be like my original jade egg teacher Minka DeVos talks about the pelvic floor being like a trampoline. We want it to be springy, so it has
Mm-hmm.
that give and it can spring back up,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a trampoline for the spirit. And so I remember tuning into that, that I could feel my pelvic floor and my cervix kind of opening, and then it was like I could feel them also kind of coming back up if it wasn't quite right to push
Mm-hmm.
yet. um,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just really deeply aware of that whole region the entire time. It was really intense. and and it was a lot easier because I'd had all this practice with the
Absolutely.
jade egg work, and then also with my partner, we'd done some yoni massage where he just held different points, where I had still been, while I was pregnant, where I had still been storing energy from my previous birth, um, and just being with those emotions really consciously too was helpful, in preparing for the birth, so that I could be there and it wouldn't be super painful. I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
was painful, but it wasn't like unbearable. I knew
Mm-hmm.
how to be with the emotions that were coming up, and I
Mm-hmm.
had enough people with me to support it,
Yeah.
and that I trusted, and who felt really aligned and were really honoring my wishes. My midwives were amazing in just, you know, asking before they did anything to my
Mm.
body, which is
Super
often not
important.
the case. And really making
Super important.
sure, and like I told them I didn't want to know how dilated I was, how far along I was, because I took so long last time. And so I
Yeah.
thought it would just be depressing. So they didn't tell me until I was like 8 centimeters, and then was hanging out at 8 centimeters for a long time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and and it was really helpful to not know, and to just be with my body, and to not be
Mm.
trying to gauge progress by somebody
Mm-hmm.
else's, view of it, but just to really be in my body and be tuning into what my body needed. I needed a lot
Absolutely.
of hip pressure, um, squeezes, and to help her get into position, we did a whole bunch of different things, but it took a lot of conscious presence, being
Mm-hmm.
really aware of my body, and relaxing it, and relaxing it, and relaxing it. And because I remember with my son, I wanted to pull my energy up and away from my cervix, or,
Mm.
or like I would send it down through my legs, or I'd kind of pull up when it got really intense. But the only way out is through. And so I had to really come into that space, and this time I did that a lot better. and I was also more comfortable with asking for support with that,
Mm-hmm.
and just making eye contact a few times in particular with my partner, where I just felt his presence and his support so
Mm.
deeply.
Yeah.
um, like it helped me remember that I could do that, and could keep keep staying present, and that there were these amazing people with me in that process.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. I have a better sense of the differences between those, and just the intensity of staying present with the cervix for any period of time, anytime, is like that's a journey in and of itself. Never mind when there's like massive surges of energy and birthing sensations coming through your body, right? It's like it's a
Right.
big deal. And
And
especially
most of
with,
us are trained not to, right? Like,
yeah.
and my office mate teaches pelvic floor physical therapy classes, um, and so one of the things, and I went to a group class, and a number of the women there just weren't even aware of whether they were contracting their pelvic floor or not. Like
Yeah,
just not, we don't have the sensation. And so I think having the jade egg practices, and not just doing them as exercises, like to gain awareness, but doing them with the spiritual practice of it, of
mm,
noticing the emotions held, and then consciously using those exercises to bring in more of the radiance of what I wanted to be growing. It just
mm.
made it's transformed my whole womb space, my, like, all of it. The womb that grew the baby, the vaginal opening, the whole pelvic floor, and just my relationship with that is really sacred and rich.
Mm,
And I think about what would be possible in the world if more women had that depth of awareness and presence, and
absolutely.
how rooted in ourselves it's possible to be when we have more of that rooted down in our bodies in this really sacred space.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, so beautiful. So beautiful. I love all things vaginas and wombs and babies and birth and women. It's just like so magical, this like creative life force.
There's so much more for you over in the Joygasmic Life membership. Become a bulletproof mom with us. Learn the tips and tricks and skills you need to recover from your postpartum mental health journey, and learn the tools of Joygasmic Alchemy so you can have the kind of birth you've been dreaming of.